What's going on, fellow Maplers? This video will act as a follow-up to the Are Boss Mules Efficient video. As a quick rundown, the video worked through a simple cost analysis to look at the time it takes to profit on a boss mule in order to help you determine if they are in fact an efficient strategy. It became quite controversial amongst more experienced players due to some of my claims. I'm going to settle this debate once and for all in the best way I know how, illustrating the problem with a poorly drawn graph in Windows Paint application. So let's start out by creating our graph. We got the y-axis, the x-axis, right? And these will just simply be mesos or progression. And on the x-axis, time. And then we'll look at it in terms of weeks. So we got 4 weeks. And then we'll do another 4, 2-month mark. And we'll do another 4, 3-month mark. Now I'm going to make a couple assumptions here. So my worst critic on my last video said they could do a boss mule up to low mean in 5 bill. So we'll say that you're starting with 5 bill and then going up the y-axis, it's just spending mesos on your main. So let's start by looking at the graph of a boss mule. Let's say it takes you 2 weeks to set up your boss mule. So you're pretty flat here. You spent your 5 bill on it, so that's not going towards your main. And then on top of that, you've spent about 10 hours of your time doing dailies and weeklies. On top of that, you've done your questing, pre-quest for Princess Snow, and you've leveled from 210 or 200, depending on where the character's at from Legion and Link progression, up to 220. And we'll say over the course of 2 weeks, that takes you 10 hours. So now that you've put your mesos and time into your boss mule, you're finally into that 3rd week and able to get that bag, earning those mesos from clearing all your weekly bosses up to low mean. So this looks like a big jump of 1.4 bill. You've cleared low mean, you've cleared Akechi, you've cleared CPAP, and all the ones below it. And it took you maybe about an hour, or if you're a god tier gamer like some of the people on my past video, 30 minutes. And then every week moving forward, you'll spend that time on your boss mule, earning 1.4 bill, earning 1.4 bill, earning 1.4 bill, like stepping stones. But really, the way you actually spend it would probably be you save it up, and then you spend it all at once on your main doing an event or something, instead of these stepping stones, but it's just easier to visualize this way. So I think here's a good place to pause and look at what it would have been like had you progressed on your main. So you earned your 5 bill back that you invested on the boss mule. But instead, you could have spent that 5 bill on the main already and been at this exact same point weeks earlier. Right, you can change around any of the numbers here you want, but it would have taken at least this month to regain back that money. That shouldn't be your only consideration though. Remember, you initially spent time to convert your Legion or Link character into a boss mule. During this time, what if instead you played on your main and mobbed for those 10 hours? Right, and I'm just using 10 hours here as a nice benchmark to make it a clean line, clean number, super easy to understand. Obviously there's going to be variance in a lot of this stuff, but it doesn't change the point of the video. Assuming you have all the appropriate buffs, including Legion buffs, legendary meso potential lines, wealth acquisition potions, you should be earning about 400 mil an hour. And if you can't be getting these across the course of a couple weeks, then honestly you should be progressing in other areas of the game and shouldn't be worrying about boss mules at this point. So assuming you're getting that 400 mil an hour rate, you'll be at a 9 bill benchmark after about 10 hours spent, and this is earned towards your main progression before you ever even earn a penny on your boss mule. So this area right here is what I described in my prior video as the opportunity cost. Right, so instead of creating the boss mule, if you had spent your time on your main, you would have gained this additional 4 bill during this time. So instead, what you're really losing out on is 9 bill, which would take you an additional 3 to 4 weeks on your boss mule to finally surpass that point and earn a profit. But this is still not accurate. In reality, the only benefit you're getting from your boss mule is mesos. But when you farm on your main, you're also getting nodes, you're getting familiars. So maybe you get a good familiar here, and a good familiar here. The jumps from familiar drops may be a little bit optimistic, but you get the point. You're getting additional resources besides just mesos, and working towards those all-important IED lines, boss damage lines, drop rate lines on your familiars, while also getting some all-important final skill damage from your nodes that you wouldn't be getting if you were bossing on your mule. Additionally, the opportunity cost doesn't just apply up until this point, it applies for every time you boss in the future. So you could be spending that hour getting 400 mil, doing a smaller hump, getting some nodes and stuff, another 400 mil, another 400 mil, right? Much tinier jumps. You get the point. And then it takes an extra couple weeks on your boss mule to finally catch up to that point until you're now a few months out from where you expected to be in terms of progression. And this doesn't even account for the fact that your boss mule is sinking some of these resources away from your main as well. So there's a tangible decrease in progression when you start because you're using a few hundred nodes, you're using some easy familiars for IED lines, etc. I will be as explicit as I can this time. Everything beyond this point is profit. If you play consistently for months on end, creating boss mules is undoubtedly time efficient. So why do I consider this so problematic? Why did I assert that these were a false bill of goods and boss mules are not efficient? Well, I didn't put it in that nice of words, but the delay in progression is incredibly important to understand for new players. Over 93% of people who pick up the game never solo clear Lotus and Damien. That alone should disqualify them from ever making boss mules. Over 97% never make it to Lucid and Will parties, and over 98.5% never solo clear Lucid and Will. The amount of time and mesos invested into making a few boss mules would get you to the point of solo clearing this tier of bosses several months earlier, which is also another time gate to get arcane gear for players in Reboot. If 98.5% of players aren't making it to the point where they can solo clear Lucid and Will, they're probably dropping the game and playing too infrequently for boss mules to ever be quote-unquote efficient. To me, it seems absurd and disconnected from the new player experience to tell players who have not reached this point to make boss mules as early as possible. Many people would be better off working on their mains, Legion and Link, and taking advantage of events where they can in order to make it to this point in the game. As a final note, I will say this every video if I have to, but play in a way that is fun for you. If you just find boss mules and lateral progression to be more enjoyable overall, absolutely, go ahead. It's a game, not work. And that's about it. Like and subscribe and stay tuned for the next video.